All right, so here we are on the classwork for 5.2. So we're going to start here on this page that I'm on right now. There technically are 3 pages to the classwork, so I'm going to try to do a few examples of each type of problem for you in this video. So on this page, the directions say to find the area to the given shapes, show your work on the right side of the page. So this is kind of like what we did in 5.1, so don't overthink it too much. Just remember now you have these formulas. So area of a triangle, oops, I guess I should be ready to write here. So area of a triangle, if you remember, is base times height divided by 2. Right? The area of a rectangle is just the length times the width, or the base times the height. So kind of same thing. Base times height, length, and width are all the same thing. So I'm not going to do number 1 and number 2 because those are strictly just counting boxes, and we all know how to do that. I'm going to jump down to number 3 here, though. So I'm going to kind of do it both ways. So if you want to count, this is the base down here. Zoom in a little bit. So if I count this, remember you count when you move. So if I start here in the corner, it'd be 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the base. And now this, over here on the left-hand side, this is the height. So if I start at the top, I count when I move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this would be 8. I use my formula, which at this point I kind of want you to start using the formulas. It makes your life a lot easier. So my area would be my base, which is 4, times my height, which is 8, divided by 2. But I have to do the multiplying first, so I have 32 divided by 2, and 32 divided by 2 is 16. So my area would be 16 units squared. All right. So that's a pretty basic triangle question. I'm going to skip down to this bottom grid now, and these get a little trickier, and sometimes you kind of have to like rotate your page around. So I would say the hardest one usually is number 6, but I am going to go in and draw all of the heights for you. So I know some of you are probably looking at it and you're like, I don't see the heights. I can see the bases. So number 5, this is the base. I want you to draw these in, maybe, highlight it with your pencil or shade it in with a different color. And then from the top going down, that is your height. Okay. Number 6 here, the base is actually this side going down, and your height starts over here on the left. Remember, if you draw a line, it has to be on the grid. We don't know how to count lines that are not on the actual grid lines. Number 7, this is our base here. Our height comes from the bottom actually, and that's our height. And then in number 8, this would be our base, and our height would kind of go out towards the right here. Okay, so if we look at number 6 here, my base, I'm going to do this in a different color, my base here is on the right hand side. So if I start up at the top, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So my base is 8. Now my height, I'm going to do in a different color. If I start all the way at the left here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Don't forget that last one. So again, this is also 8. So to find my area now, my area is my base, which is 8, times my height, which is 8, divided by 2. And 8 times 8 is 64 here, divided by 2. So my answer would be 32. And remember to put a little label on it. So 32, oops. Doesn't want to erase today. 32 units squared. But just remember, you could always do what we have been doing yesterday, and you could go in, if we look at, say, number 8 here, and you could box it off. We did this yesterday, and that's also a good way to solve these as well. If you flip the page now to the next lesson 2 page, all right, this is kind of what our video looked like. So and area for each of these. So at the top, I want you to write your formulas in, because the more you write them, the easier it is for you to remember them. So for a triangle, the area is the base times height divided by 2. For a rectangle, usually we like to say the area is the length times the width. And then for a parallelogram, which is kind of like that sideways looking rectangle guy, the area is again the base times the height. Okay, so the first one is the rectangle. That's the easiest one, guys. So just make sure that you show your work though. So for the area, the length, so my length is 8 times my width is 5. So my area here is 40. Now notice we are in centimeters, so it would be 40 centimeters squared. Now perimeter is when you add up all the sides, and I know some of you are like, well, I don't see those other side lengths, but remember, in a rectangle, if this long side is 8, and this long side has to be 8, and this side has to be 5. Their opposite sides are the same lengths. So my perimeter would be 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 8, and you could write that in any order, really. Our perimeter here would be 26. And since we're not multiplying, it would just be 26 centimeters. Okay. Now in number 2 here, we've got a triangle. So my area of my triangle is my base times height divided by 2. Now remember, the base and the height have to make this little right angle guy, which they gave you here. So my base in this case is 3 times my height, which is 6 divided by 2. And 6 times 3 is 18 divided by 2, which would give us 9. So here we have 9, and now we are in inches, so it'd be inches squared. Okay, and then for the perimeter, you just add up the 3 sides, so 3 plus 6 plus 7, which would give us 16, and this would just be 16 inches. All right, and then in the last one here, all right, I've got a parallelogram, so my area is just my base times my height. So here, my base is this bottom part, all right, which is 9. My height, they have drawn in here off to the side on the right, which is 4, so it'd be 9 times 4, which is 36. So my area is 36 square inches. And then my perimeter, now this is always the trickiest one. So these little dotted lines out here to the side, they don't really count. They're not a part of the shape. They're dotted, which means they're kind of like imaginary. So my shape is just these solid lines, which I'm doing in orange right now on my screen. So just like a rectangle, the opposite sides are the same length. So if this long side is 9, then this long side is 9. Now, if this shorter side is 6, this shorter side is 6. So my perimeter, you have to remember, guys, there's only 4 sides in a parallelogram. There are not 5 sides, so we can only have 4 numbers. So it would just be 6 plus 9 plus 6 plus 9. So our perimeter here would be 30, and it would just be 30 inches. Okay, a lot of you are going to want to add in that 4. It doesn't count. All right, that's just the height. It's not, we don't have 5 sides to this shape. Okay, so I want you to continue on. I want you to try the next page now that you've got an example of each, and finish that first page that we started all together, and that's what you're going to work on today.